Last summer, my friend mentioned she was going on a tour with her teenage daughter and suggested that I join them with my kids. By the way, who likes traveling? I see many of you do. And why do you think about traveling with kids? Who has one kid? Maybe two kids? Okay, I got three. So you could imagine what I answered her. Moreover, my friend forgot to mention that it would be an extreme horse riding tour in the mountains. So I grinned and said, no way. I can't ride, neither can my kids. And living in a tent for a week without a bath seemed absolutely opposite to my dream vacation. So no, I'm not going. My friend said, you know, everything is in your head. If you think that it's difficult, your kids will share your feelings and would misbehave. But if you think that it's possible, that you can cope with anything, everything will be okay. But I see, she said, you're afraid to take responsibility. You're literally afraid to live. Who? Me? Afraid to live? I felt offended. I couldn't bear someone calling me weak and telling me that I can't cope with my life, that I can't cope with my kids. Immediately, I decided to prove that I can cope with any difficulties, whatever it takes. So I bought tickets, packed our bags, and in 2 weeks we were at the base where our trip started. The first night, the instructor chose the horse according to person's character. I don't know why, but my horse's name was Putin. Next morning, we were set to saddle our horses. And here it began. My nightmare became real. I barely could saddle Putin. And then I realized that I have 3 kids, and it meant 3 more horses to saddle. I barely could hold my tears. My kids were running around, enjoying the sun, playing the games, while I tried not to let the group down so that we could start our trip in time to reach the first stop before the sunset. I asked myself what I was doing here. How come I found myself in the middle of nowhere, without mobile coverage, but with 3 kids and 4 horses? Why did I decide to suffer on purpose? My mind started to draw the picture that by the end of the trip, I would be the most tired and the most nervous person ever. I asked myself, who pushed me to be here? Because while on a horseback, you can't talk to anybody. And you don't have access to internet to ask Google, why am I here? And after 100 times, I asked myself that question. I heard a quiet voice in my head. That person was me. I was that Mrs. Who. Then I looked at my friend who invited me to that trip. She looked absolutely happy, enjoying the ride, observing the nature, while I was angry. I was angry at myself because I still couldn't accept her words that I can't cope with my life. When I was younger, I used to be strong and would keep the mask of a good girl on. I used to get excellent marks at school to get my father's approval. I used to help my mother with my younger sister to get her attention. I used to believe my ex-husband that I wasn't good enough to be loved unconditionally for simply being myself. I knew only that way of being loved, to deserve it by doing something right. I would never ask for help. I would try to be perfect all the time. And unfortunately, later, I did the same to my kids. I wanted them to be obedient, to do what I wanted them to do. And if they misbehaved or rejected my requests, I was angry. I didn't allow them to be just kids. But they wanted me to love them unconditionally, even if they were not good enough. And when I realized that, I burst out crying right there on the horse. And with those tears, I relieved myself from the tension that had been mounting for the last several months. Why am I trying to be perfect all the time? Why am I trying to be the best? Why am I keeping that mask on me? I wanted to be honest with myself. And I found the answer deep down in my heart. A little girl inside me was still trying to prove that she deserved to be loved. That she deserved to be loved for doing something right. She was so vulnerable that she used all her energy to keep it a secret. She would never ask for help so as not to look weak or stupid. She wanted to be the best all the time. She couldn't accept that she could be imperfect. But like we can't say that we love only this finger on our hand and don't love this finger. We can't accept only good parts of us and get rid of bad parts. But as long as we allow ourselves to accept all parts of our character, allow ourselves to be imperfect, then we allow other people to be imperfect too. And that's how we start to love. To truly love ourselves and others. That 10-day trip triggered my transformation. I confessed that by being vulnerable and trying to hide it from others, I felt very lonely. But as long as I allowed myself to express all kinds of feelings and emotions and to be imperfect, I felt much happier. And now I'm not, I can confess that I had been helping other people to build their confidence, but I couldn't help myself for a long time. And if you look at my social media profile a year ago, I'll show you. You'll see well-designed, stylish pictures. Yes, they were nice, but maybe extremely perfect. And I could notice by statistics that my followers would unsubscribe from time to time, just because they've had enough. But if you look at my social media now, you would feel that you watch the series because I share my feelings and emotions. I tell you the stories about my life. I don't have 1 million followers yet, of course, and still struggle with my kids. But at least I'm not trying to hide these texts anymore. And now, as a mentor, I help other people to build their strong personal brands by revealing their unique personality. I help other people to get to know themselves better. I help them to recognize their strengths and accept their weaknesses. I help them to reveal their values and to open up to the world. When we are sincere and when we accept our pros and cons and allow ourselves to fail sometimes, we attract other people and then become our loyal followers, our warm audience, our advocates. But to have this courage to open up to the world, to reveal your vulnerability, you need to know yourself better, to understand who you are, to know your core values, and accept all parts of your character. And that's how we start to love all 5 fingers on our hand. Your vulnerability is your chance to get to know yourself better, to understand what stands behind it, and to help yourself to treat your soul. And after that, you would be able to settle any Putin.